Welcome, welcome. My name is Wendy Silvas.
And I'm Daisy Silvas.
And this is our podcast named Heavenly Enlightened.
We are so glad that you are here. Our podcast is based on a variety of things from life lessons, our childhood, our testimony, and everything that we wish we knew as young adults.
And for this week, our topic is going to be growing up with someone who was addicted to substances. Sister, I don't really remember. I was like 4, 3 when all of this happened. You were probably older.
Yeah, I was 7
There you go.
when Mom first got addicted to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And her choice was methamphetamine. So I remember early on just remembering how that all went down.
Mm-hmm.
And you were young. You were 4. Because we're 3 years apart. So if you make the math, yeah, you were 4 years old.
And even that, I didn't know that that was her drug of choice. Like, I'm just learning that now.
Yeah.
Like, as we speak, yeah.
Yeah. How did that, now that you're an adult, looking back because you were young, like I was able to tell when Mom was high off her ends, right? Because it was something that I could sense in the sense that, like, she was our mom, but the person behind her eyes wasn't.
Yeah, see, I don't remember any of that. I didn't even know drugs were present up until I was out of this. No. I want to say when we first got removed, which at that time I was either 3 or 4. Daisy, like she said, was 7 or 8. I only started putting 2 and 2 when we had gotten removed because that's when they had informed me slightly, or like I overheard about one of our younger sisters being a drug baby.
Going through withdrawals when she was born.
And that to me was the explanation that I overheard. I don't think it was ever told to me because I was too young.
Yeah.
But I was never aware that that was even a thing up until after the fact.
And to jump back to what you said, what do you remember of, like, because I'm just thinking of like these flashbacks are going through my head, right? Mom was obviously pregnant with our third sister at the time, right? Because I'm the oldest, you're the second. So our third sister, she was using during the time of her pregnancy. Do you remember that blue little house? What are your memories of those blue little house? Because
trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma.
That house gives me so much trauma.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So,
but what do you remember? Because you were only 4.
Honestly, as soon as you said it, the first memory, the first like flashback I got was, this is terrible, but this is how bad, this is how traumatized and damaged I am. But it was Mom on the sink, or around the sink. This person, we're gonna call, they were getting into it, and I have a visual memory of my mom against like the wall in the restroom. He's holding an item. I don't know if we can say those things on YouTube, but a sharp item. Yeah. And it was against, like, area, and I remember her screaming at you, asking you to call 911. And this is a little bit funny, but it's also traumatic because you didn't know what. Yeah, she was like, call the police. My mom was like, call the police. And you didn't. You're like, what's the number? And I remember, like, they were in the middle of, okay, they were going at it. Okay, like I said, that thing was up against her throat. And I remember they both stopped and laughed. They were like, you don't know 911? Like, you don't know their number?
I don't remember that.
I remember that because they stopped. Like, that was like, I don't know. I feel like that was a miracle and the happening because it literally felt like time stopped, and they both were like, you don't know the. Dang. And then they told you're like, it's 911. Yeah.
I don't remember that. House. No, I see when I think of that blue house, I think of like it was literally a garage converted into a bedroom. Like, literally, you open the door, the bed's right there. You go a little bit further, like 2 steps, there's the restroom. And then you go to, like, you turn a little bit and it's the walk-in closet what's our room. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember that whole 911 situation. I remember growing up in that household of like me and you used to sleep in that bedroom. Mm-hmm. And when you would sleep in that bedroom, oh my gosh, this girl would traumatize me all the time because it's when you started singing, you were 4 years old. So I feel like, and I was 7, you'd scared the, out of me. Uh-huh. And you would sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And you swore up and down that that's when you had an imaginary friend. Uh-huh. And her singing to that song. Till this day, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star traumatizes me because of her. But, it'd be in the middle of the night and I'd wake up and roll over. And our bed was a little like...
Inflatable?
Yeah, inflatable thrown in there. And that was our bedroom. And I'd wake up in the middle of the night and Wendy would be singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars, and then she'd be talking and having a full-on conversation by herself, and I'd be so scared. But it was also in that room where I remember that I feel like a lot of our trauma started because it was our bedroom, but it was also the room where mom and this man would go in and get high all the time. So our childhood bedroom was tarnished with this room converted into them getting high and strung out and all the time.
Oh my god, our childhood bedroom was drug infested.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And all I remember is like the paint color of the house. I remember, I don't remember details like how you said like the front door. All I remember when I get flashbacks, it's like me in the room, in the closet. Yeah. And I'm looking at mom's bed, like the bed. Like that's all I see. I remember the flashback of the bathroom, but that's all I see. I don't see the whole house or like remember like those things.
To put into perspective, you were young, but that's when you said that you started to realize that mom was in her addiction.
Well, I didn't know she was in her addiction. Okay. That's when I started picking up on like something inside of me, like the urgency or maybe like the fear of it. That's when I knew like something wasn't right, but it was more so domestic versus addiction. Okay. That I was becoming somewhat aware, because to me that was normal. And two, I don't have much memories. So I don't know if that's just because things were happening and it just, I was little. It was just like, it is what it is.
So how was, because I remember our relationship, well, my relationship with mom. Mm-hmm. My relationship with mom at that age was very strained, and I often felt like the black sheep of the family. Mm-hmm. What was your relationship with mom at the time?
I was very, like I said, I didn't know what was going on. I loved my mom. I thought she was the best mom. I didn't see anything that she was doing was wrong. I just thought it was part of life. I thought that was normal. Like, I don't know if you remember like the whole like showering with the hose or showering in the sprinklers. Like, I thought that was fun. I thought that we were playing games and that we were having a pool day without the pool. Like, that's how I was seeing things. I was seeing that for normal. I didn't see
so it with childlike of a mindset, whereas mine, I completely forgot about that hose. That's right.
Because we wouldn't shower.
We wouldn't shower. Yeah, because it wasn't a bathroom. It was just the toilet. And the sink. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when mom would forget her keys and there was a little window and she would make us go through that window to open the front door? Mm-hmm. That's crazy. I completely forgot about that memory, and you just brought it back. I remember, and it was so cold. The hose was so cold. Yeah. I hated showering, and that's why we got piojos. That's
probably why.
Yeah.
Probably why.
That's why we got piojos. Yeah.
So my relationship with her was more so like I said, I didn't see anything wrong. I didn't know that anything was wrong. So I loved her. I was confused when we got removed because, like I said, I didn't know that drugs were present. Yeah. And then two, like, I didn't understand the term drug baby, because that's what I overheard. Was she was a drug baby. It wasn't anything else but that. So to me, it was like, what do you mean? Like, mind you, I'm little, so I'm just like, I didn't understand that by consuming while you're pregnant, that also goes to the child and that causes effects. And now that was the cause of it. Yeah. So I don't know.
You had a very, very different
I was very naive, very covered. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Very innocent. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was, like I said, I just felt like the black sheep of the family. I know mom used that to her advantage at times. Like the way you said that first memory of her having something through her throat, you know, with him, I don't remember that.
At all?
At all. I just remember the one vivid memory that I have at that place where I felt like that house started our trauma a lot. I remember them getting into a big argument. And I'm going to put it out here because, look, one day we're going to have mom at this, you know, at this setting with us. She's, as a guest, she's going to be here owning her truths because it's the truth. Look, mom was young. Mom was young. But the way she came about things, I'm like, girl, you should, girl. Mom was being a little promiscuous, to put the least. She was with this man who was the baby daddy of our third sister. And she decided that she just didn't want to, you know, own up to her, I want to break up things. So she decided to sleep with this homie. And I remember, at the time I didn't know, but it was his homie. And I remember that she thought that she could hide him in this tiny little room, like
our room?
No, not in our room. It was in the restroom. Mind you, it's just the toilet and the sink and then the window.
There's not even a shower curtain.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yes, but she thought she was so slick. She thought she could hide him and he would never find out. Homie hides in the restroom. Baby daddy comes in, knows something's up, opens the restroom, comes face to face with his homie. Yeah, homie dashes. And I remember because he had brought us donuts that day and I thought, ooh, it was a distraction. It was a distraction so him and mom could link up.
The homie brought donuts?
Yeah, he brought us donuts. Yeah, he earned my trust that day.
Wow, with fucking donuts is that.
Hey, the girl was starved, okay?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I'll take my wins. Okay, homie runs out the door. Mom and him get into it. And I remember this is the first, like, big traumatic memory that I have. Because she's, like, almost about ready to pop. And they're getting to it. They're yelling at each other. He does not care. They get physical, really physical. And then my mom's crying on the floor. Well, our mom's crying on the floor. He leaves. And this woman has the audacity to look at me, her 7-year-old child, to look at me and says, go after him, Gorda, because that's what our mom calls us. Gorda, run after him. She didn't even give me time to put on shoes. She wanted me to run. And at the time where that little house was, to get to the bus station, you had to walk down an alley, basically. And this alley was very naive to, like, where the homeless population would go and hang out, and there'd be beer bottles with glass everywhere. And I had to run out down that alley where there's glass. I remember feeling the glass on my feet, but I knew that if I didn't go get him and bring him back, what was waiting at me at home was going to be 10 times worse. So I'm running down, chasing after this man, begging him to please come back. He gets on that bus, and I knew right then and there that I was about to get beat because I didn't stop him. And I knew that mom was waiting at me at home. So that's the biggest memory I have right there at that blue house.
So what was the dynamic between you and mom? Because like I said, for me, like I said, I loved her. I didn't see anything wrong. I didn't know anything was wrong. But for you, like you said, like you knew that at that point you had a mission. You had to get that man by any means. But you also mentioned there being fear and you already knowing. So if that was already part of your normal, like what was your relationship like at that age, at that time with her? Was it fearful? Was it like...
Oh, 100%. 100% fearful. I knew that when mom would get high, she wasn't mom. And that drug is very notorious to making the person become very aggressive and hallucinate, which is why, looking back now as an adult, like, I somewhat forgive her because drugs is an addiction. Like, call it as it is. It's an addiction. It eats people away. Looking back at even, our sister's baby daddy, like, they were addicted and they were young adults. They were in their mid-20s. Mom was
not even early.
Yeah, early 20s. Yeah. So they were young. They were naive. They were, two broken people that obviously went through a rough patch in life.
Misery loves company.
Yeah, misery loves company. So I don't hold these people like accountable. Well, no, I hold them accountable for their actions because as adults you're supposed to protect your children. But I somewhat forgive them in the sense that I understand now what it is to be addicted. Yeah. But it was very stressful and it was very fearful, the relationship that I had with Mom.
Was that just when you saw that she was addicted, or was that like, would that turn on when you saw, or when you would notice like, okay, she's on something? Would it change when she was sober, or was it still that fearful relationship?
No, you know what? I think it is when I knew that she was high. Because when Mom was sober, she was very attentive. I knew some of the memories that I have is that she would do our hair every day. Like she loved doing hair, so she would do our hair. But that's when she was sober. When she was high, she was very aggressive and she was very like, she had limited patience. She'd scream at you like. So the moment that I would see her walk into our bedroom and close that door and turn on TV for us, I knew that the mom that would come out of that door again
wasn't gonna
be the same. Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, I like to place myself, or try to place myself in people's situation. It's like, to me, I didn't know, so like I said, but like, to me, if I was in your position, it would be yeah, traumatizing and like sad. Like, not, it's another word that's not sad. It's like, maybe not disappointed, but something around that. That's just kind of like, you already know what the outcome is going to be, and it's almost hopeless. Like, you're just like, well, like, you can't do anything. You know she's going to do it, and you know that you're going to have to suffer the repercussions.
Yeah, pretty much.
Of her addiction.
Yeah. Now, we talked a lot about Mom. Obviously, you didn't know about. And as we progress in this podcast, like the gaps in between are gonna fill up, and then you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this happened, and But fast forward to 10 years old. This was after Mom, so we were put in the foster system. Mom regained, custody of us. I was 10, so you were 7. Right? 7 years old.
Just to reiterate, like I said, so she was 7, I was 3. We went into the system because of the reasoning of it was because of our third baby sister.
Yeah. Going through withdrawals at the hospital. The hospital notified CPS and we were placed then into foster care.
And that's how that happened. And then we were there from, well, at least my timeline, 3 to 8 for me. It was 4 years, right?
It was 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And then...
So I was 10. So we went into the system from 7 till 10 into the foster system. Yeah. And then Mom regained custody. She was sober, obviously, to regain custody. But again,
Was she?
To each their own. That's the question we will have for Mom.
I actually have tea. Yeah, I actually have tea. She'll come and say her story, her side, but she did mention to me.
Wait, I think I know what you're gonna say. That she would use other people's pee.
So she was never really sober.
She was never really sober. But here we are being in our delulu state of Mom's healthy and Mom passed all her classes.
And see, with that, I feel like, and I remember that perfectly because at the time we were with our first foster family, and I remember the transition to leave that home and go back to Mom. It was very like, oh, don't worry, like, it was a Hispanic home, so it was very like, mija, no te preocupes, like, like, your mom's doing your mom's doing better, that's why you're going back. So it was very like, to us, I mean, maybe to Daisy more, but like, to me it was more reassuring because I was like, okay, like, she's not the same, like, she's not going to be angry. That's what I thought. I didn't know that, like, again, I didn't know about the addiction, I didn't know the severity of things. But yeah, that transition was, I still remember, I think Junior, someone in our life, Junior took us to where our mom was at when we first got back. And there's this one freaking Spanish song that pops up like here and there, and it's like the core memory to that, where he's driving us to this, like, what was it? Like a
facility
with like
to transfer
moms.
over.
It was like moms and children only,
yeah
right?
yeah
Yeah. And I remember like they were like, no, you're gonna love it, like everything's fine. And I was just more so happy to go with
back
my
with our
mom.
mom. Yeah.
So I was like, oh my god. And they were saying like everything was good. Like in my head everything was already good. But now they're saying things are better. And then I'm little, so I'm pulling up to this place where it's just like this big old building with a bunch of kids, and I'm excited because it's more kids to run around with, more kids to play with, and then I have mom, you know?
Yeah.
What was your, I guess, like, feeling towards hearing like, okay, you're going back, and you knew?
I knew that I was hopeful. I see, here's the thing. I didn't know about the P exchange of like knowing until we were older.
Yeah.
So in my head at 10 years old, mom was clean, mom was sober, mom had passed all her classes. That's why we were going back. And she played it so well that to me it was like I full-heartedly trusted her. I didn't see anything differently until once we moved in, things started going good. The social worker started pulling back because mom was up to her best behavior. And then this is why I said we lived in a state of delulu, because do you remember selling chocolates when we were in school? I have this vivid memory, and I feel so bad for this lady, but there was a next door neighbor of ours, little old lady. She was the sweetest. I don't know why she never called CPS though, because the amount of screaming that came
she
through
was
that.
older, so maybe like she couldn't hear.
That's true. Wait, I don't know. To each their own.
Yeah, but I feel like them screams was a little too loud for you not to hear. Yeah.
I remember knocking at her door, and we had this idea of, at the time at school, they would, do these fundraisers. And it was chocolates. And we wanted this prize. I don't even remember. It might have been like a DS at the time, because those were so popular back then. And we wanted a DS. I think that's what the prize we wanted.
Because all the kids had them.
Yeah.
We didn't.
And we didn't. So we knocked on this old lady's house. She opens up. And we're telling her, we're selling chocolates. The lady proceeds to pick out the chocolates, what she wants. Okay, we get her name, everything. She gives us the money. Me and Winnie go back to our home, to our apartment.
We do a couple rounds, but like there was a lot of people that weren't. That's why that lady stands out to us.
Yeah, because she was the only one who gave. Yeah, she was the only one who gave. We go back.
I'm pretty sure we were excited, like to tell mom, like, oh my god, we made a sale. Yeah. And then our mom got a hold
of the money.
Well, she got a hold of the fact that we had gotten money. And she was like, oh, well, what if, what did she tell you? Like, I'll borrow it?
Yeah, and I'll put it back. I promise I'll put it back. Yeah. So she proceeds to take this old lady's money that was meant for her chocolates. We never saw that money back. And I feel like that's right then and there that I knew that we were feeding into mom's addiction, because she promised us, swore up and down that she would put it back. And she never did. And that lady stands out to me, and I still wonder till his day that she's probably still waiting on those chocolates. We never delivered, sister. We never did.
That was so sad. That really was.
But from that story and being in our delulu, I wouldn't even say delulu. To us now as adults, we're like, we were in a delulu state. But
we were just naive.
Yeah, and we were children. So like, we didn't connect the dots right then and there. But I feel, well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know how I said, like, in the Blue House, I didn't know, I wasn't aware. That was for, like I said, I didn't know the Blue House, the situation, I wasn't aware. Then we moved to
the foster home.
The foster home, or that facility. Yeah. It was like, it wasn't a foster home. It was like, I don't know what it was, but it was like a home with all mothers and kids. And then after that, we got another apartment. We got an apartment in Tustin. And that's where that whole story with the older lady happened and all that. Yeah, the apartment complex is in Tustin. And in that home, even there, I didn't know that drugs were present no, I didn't know, but I still was seeing like the abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like once we reached that stage in our life, like everything went downhill.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the biggest, like, obviously we talked about how it was growing up with mom being addicted to, her being addicted to substance, the different point of views from 4 years old to 7 years old,
Right.
to 7 years old to 10 years old. And even then, you still didn't really connect the dots of her being addicted.
No, I
But
didn't smell anything.
yeah,
I didn't see anything. All I knew was that like she would get angry, but I would think like I don't know, it was because just randomly she would get
yeah,
angry, and there was abuse in the household,
but
which
that's it.
wasn't new because like I said, like I had that experience, seen that experience with her past baby father,
Relationship. Yeah.
relationship, and yeah,
Yeah.
I was still like in limbo. I didn't know.
Which is crazy because we were at the exact same age and you still didn't know.
Mm-mm.
But like I knew from the get-go. I don't know, it was just,
I wonder if it's because at the first house, because we were in that same room, we were in her
yeah,
closet and she was in the room. Like it
yeah.
was more easier for you to
To
notice
witness it, yeah.
versus me. Because had I been older and in that same room, I probably would have noticed. Because
Yeah.
there was nowhere else that she could hide, nowhere else
Yeah.
that she could do it. But because we had our own room, we had a playroom, we had then she had her room, and she would
Yeah.
close that door. She would not let nobody in. It was rare when she would let us in, and that was
Yeah.
like a privilege
Yeah.
to me.
And look, again, mom's gonna be on this podcast,
She'll tell her
but let me
side.
tell you that this woman would not let anyone through her door.
Mm-mm.
And you know what? When she was in the midst of her addiction at that age, when I was 10 and you were 7, she there would be no food for us.
Yeah.
But she'd have
We had
donuts
our
in her
food.
room. She'd have all these munchies in her room,
Mm-hmm.
and we wouldn't. Like, we would be fending for food.
It was very much, I finish eating whatever is left.
You can have, like, your leftovers, she'd
And
give us.
then she would have to, and because she was the oldest, she would have to like split it, no?
Yeah.
Between all of us, whether that was, I remember her freaking beans. I don't know why they were like these beans, refried beans with like bacon pieces in it. Do you remember that?
No.
I don't
I
know,
remember
mom,
the
if you knew how
donuts.
to cook or not, but you threw some
Have
type
you
of
seen a pattern
concoction
that I
together.
remember the donuts? That's all I remember.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what it was, but I remember she had finished eating, and like the frijoles, there's caldo left.
Mm-hmm.
And all there was like a couple little beans and the caldo
Of the beans.
the beans, yeah. And I don't know if she told me directly or if you were sitting next to me, but she was like, you guys like take like split it. And there was nothing but like maybe 3
soup,
beans and soup, but that, or what was it, like dried cereal?
I remember the donuts because they were just
the white ones, huh? The powdered ones.
Yeah. Those were so good. The glazed ones. Oh, they were so good. But she'd eat the whole box to herself, and she'd leave us like half of maybe 2 of them. And then at the time, it was you, our third sister, and then the fourth sister. And it was either I eat it all to myself or I feed these 3 girls, and it was always I would give it to them. I would always give it to them. But I remember those donuts. I don't know what it is with donuts, but
I remember the chocolate. So there was a cabinet in the kitchen. I don't know if you remember. It was that long one. I don't know if it was locked or if we just knew not to get in it, but it was like chocolates. And speaking about Easter and Easter being around the corner, there was this big bunny chocolate.
Oh, I remember the bunny chocolate.
And I started getting into it. Because there was no food and there were snacks, and those were hers. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember if there was a lock on it, but all I knew is we knew
not to touch it.
Don't go into that.
Yeah.
And my dumbass, myself, I was like, I thought maybe hiding them under my mattress, she would never know. Well, we had bunk beds. So what happens when you put it under? There's like slits. That baby was falling down. I was getting exposed. And I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that argument. argument that instilled in the vengefulness of mom after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember, speaking of bunk beds, do you remember I would hide behind it. Like mom, like when she would try to get us, you know, like I said, it was very she's very aggressive and very
not in the right state of mind.
Right.
Yeah.
So when she was out to get you, like I said, like when she figured
it's
out
like
that
Freddy Krueger trying to get you in your dreams, but this is in real life and like there's no escaping.
Exactly. And she's crazy and she's yelling at you, and I was in this room and I remember, I don't know how it is. I don't know if she moved the bed or what. I don't know what it was. All I remember is
she
like
became the
me,
Hulk.
yeah, and she moved the bunk bed. The bunk bed was kind of like against this wall, against this corner. So I don't know how it was, but the thing is, I ended up getting in between the corner of the room and the bunk bed.
Okay.
So like she was like moving and she's like, oh, like, and I'm over here like behind it. I don't know how it ended up happening, but that was fear. Exactly what you said,
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger, all that. That's exactly what it was. Like I felt like there was nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Like you were trapped.
Literally.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I tried hiding under the bunk bed. I was like, she can't get down here. She can't get me. Oh, she got me. She got me.
She got you right by the legs and dragged you out.
Something.
Yeah.
But
no, that's crazy. It's crazy how we've been talking about like growing up with mom who was addicted, the different point of views, the different perspectives, the different stories that we remember, which all the stories, I'm like, oh my gosh, these bring back so much flashbacks. Yeah. But of course, we want to end with, giving people a little bit what more to expect. Because this is just a glimpse of the trauma, the things, the stories that we have.
That and the domino effect of addiction.
Yeah,
like
the domino effect.
It doesn't just mess up the individual's life that's consuming it, but also if you do have kids, like they're growing. So they're seeing all these things. These are things that you're in a way molding them into a system that is not that you shouldn't be teaching your kids. They shouldn't be inhaling this drug infested oxygen in the room. Like that shouldn't even be a thing.
And you're learning all these patterns too. Like what you grow up with, you start to believe that this is normal and that this is okay, and you sort of develop into it. Yeah. And like I said, after that, once we gained custody with mom, I feel like that's when it went all downhill. But I also feel like for the next part of our podcast, it's going to talk about what she said, what Wendy said here about like how it all shapes you, right? Like you start to believe that this is normal, that the way you become addicted to these substances is normal. And so our next topic
is when we're more
adults
and we get to like we grasp like what's really going on, because at that age I didn't know completely. She somewhat knew, but I don't think we knew the severity of it.
Yeah.
It gets crazy. There's tea.
There's much more. If you think that it ends with just our mom hiding her baby daddy's homie in the restroom,
that with no shower curtain.
Yeah, with no shower curtain, that ain't even the tip of the iceberg.
It's nuts.
But we'll also be talking a little bit about what we faced in our substance abuse, the path that we've chosen. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Thank you so much for listening. Let us know if any of these things you guys relate to them, or if you want your story to be heard, or you just want to share a couple words. We're gonna be reading the comments.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to Heavenly Enlightened, and we hope you had a little bit of laughs. Hope we didn't make you too sad, but we definitely enjoyed our first podcast. So
yes, thank you so
guys
much, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.